And the hijab controversy continues to be a top focus stories right here. And Nabila Jamal, my colleague who's been tracking this from day one, getting you every single update, is now joining us. Hi Nabila, what's really going on as far as the situation is concerned, given that schools and colleges have opened essentially today, but there are different set of rules essentially when it comes to those who are being allowed with a hijab within the school premises. Give us the situation update, and also how are the students reacting to the developments from there?
The intense face-off over a week that's been going on the hijab controversy. Finally, now schools have opened up after a week of closure. Schools across Karnataka have opened up. Only schools, not colleges. Up to 10th grade across the state today open. Some students, many of the institutions there was some kind of confusion on whether or not hijab is allowed across institutions. Some students wearing the hijab and the burqa were being allowed inside a Kundapura government school in Udupi, where the entire hijab controversy had first begun. In fact, in Karnataka's Mandya, though, on the other hand, there were arguments that broke out between teachers and some of the students there and parents alike on removing hijab inside campus. Now, in Karnataka, Shivamogga, unfortunately, 13 students wearing the hijab who entered the classroom there were asked to leave. They were in fact appearing for preparatory examinations with their hijab inside the classroom, but the authorities, the class teachers and school management said that they can't wear the hijab inside classrooms as the matter is in court, and they were asked to leave. Their parents came. They said if they are not allowed to wear the hijab and sit, then they will take them back home. They all headed back home with their parents. This comes right after prohibitory orders, section 144, that have been imposed across the state, many parts of the state, in Udupi particularly. Udupi Government School, meanwhile, the high school students have submitted a memorandum to the management to start class as soon as possible, since examination season is just around the corner. Students have said that their education was being affected, and also claimed that they have seen these students attending class with the hijab earlier on.
हिंदुस्तान के अंदर मेरे ख्याल से रेप रेट जो है वो सबसे हाईएस्ट हिंदुस्तान के अंदर है। वजह क्या है? ये गोशे पर्दे में नहीं होने की वजह से। कंपलसरी पहनना करके नहीं है, जिसको पहनना है, जिसको हिफाजत कर लेना है, जिसको उसको खूबसूरतता की दूसरे को नहीं दिखाना है, वो लोग हिजाब पहनते हैं। ऐसा नहीं कि कंपलसरी हिजाब पहनना करके। ये हमारे को दुख का है। ये बीजेपी वाले उनके पॉलिटिकल बेनिफिट के लिए बच्चों, विद्यार्थी लोग को, बच्चे लोग को, जो स्टूडेंट्स को, उनको इस्तेमाल करके केसी साल पिना के उनको जो है जात पात सिखा रहे, वो दुख हो रहा है।
That's a very obnoxious statement coming from MLA. I don't think he should say such things. Most of the sexual molestation cases, rape cases also happen, and POSCO cases have been filed where girls wearing hijab going to madrasas have been sexually exploited. It is there for the public to see. I think he should think properly. And the mentality of the male mentality, where they think that the female is for using for a particular purpose, that mentality should change. You can't put a gown or you can't put a veil over a woman and say that rape won't happen. You have to change the mentality.
School ಹೋಗೋ ಮಕ್ಕಳಿಗೆ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಸೆರೆ ಬೇಡ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥವಾಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಆದ್ರಿಂದ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲ, ಕೋರ್ಟ್ನವ್ರಿಗೆ ನೀವು ಯೂನಿಫಾರ್ಮ್ ಏನು? ಸಲ್ವಾರ್ ಕಮೀಸು, ದುಪ್ಪಟ್ಟ ಹೆಗಲ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕ್ತೀರಿ, ಅದೇ ದುಪ್ಪಟ್ಟ ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಹಾಕಿರಿ, ಮುಗಿದೋಯ್ತು. ಅದೇ ಕಲರು. ಬುರ್ಕ ಏನದ, ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ತನಕ ಹೋಗೋತನ ಬುರ್ಕಿರುತ್ತೆ. ಕಾಲೇಜ್ ಒಳಗೆ ಹೋದಾಗ ಕ್ಲಾಸ್ ರೂಮಲ್ಲಿ ದುಪ್ಪಟ್ಟ ಹಾಕೊಂಡು ಕೂರ್ತಾರ, ತಪ್ಪೇನು? ಇವತ್ತು ಕೊರೋನಾ ಬಂತು, ನಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಹಾಕಿಲ್ವ ಮುಖಕ್ಕೆ ಹಿಜಾಬು? ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಹಾಕ್ಕೊಂಡ್ವಿ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಇದನ್ನ ಕಾಂಟ್ರವರ್ಸಿ ಮಾಡದೇ ಇರೋದು ಉತ್ತಮ ಅಂತ ನಮ್ಮ
ನೆಕ್ಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಏನು ಭದ್ರಾವತಿಯಿಂದ ಏನು JDS ನಿಂದ
ಇಲ್ಲ
ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ಸ್.
ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಜಿಲ್ಲಾಧಿಕಾರಿಗಳಿಗೆ ಮತ್ತು DDPI ಅವರಿಗೆ, SP ಅವರಿಗೆ ಯಾವ್ಯಾವ ಸ್ಕೂಲು ಪ್ರಮುಖವಾಗಿರುವಂಥದ್ದು,
ಅಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸಭೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಪೇರೆಂಟ್ಸ್ ಟೀಚರ್ ಸಭೆಯನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು, ಸೌಹಾರ್ದತೆ ವಾತಾವರಣ ಮೂಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಈಗಾಗಲೇ ಸೂಚನೆಯನ್ನು ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ನನಗೆ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ ಇದೆ ನಾಳೆ 10ನೇ ತರಗತಿವರೆಗೂ ಅತ್ಯಂತ ಶಾಂತವಾಗಿ ಶಾಲೆಗಳು ನಡೀತದೆ. ಅದರ ಮತ್ತೆ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಮುಂದಿನ PUC ಮತ್ತು ಡಿಗ್ರಿ ಕಾಲೇಜದ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ಸಚಿವರು ಪರಿಸ್ಥಿತಿ ನೋಡಿಕೊಂಡು ವರದಿಯನ್ನು ಕೊಡೋಕ್ಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದರ ಆಧಾರದ ಮೇಲೆ ಮುಂದಿನ ಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಳಿ.
ನಾನು ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಭಾರಿ ಸ್ಪಷ್ಟವಾಗಿ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದರೆ, ಒಂದು ವೇಳೆ ನಮಗೆ ಇನ್ವಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದರೆ ನಾವು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ವಿ, ಆ ಮೀಟಿಂಗನ್ನು ಅಟೆಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ. ಈ ಏನು ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್ ಇದೆಯೋ ಶಾಸಕರ ಮತ್ತು ತಹಸೀಲ್ದಾರಿನ ನೇತೃತ್ವದಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗಿರುವಂತಹ ಮೀಟಿಂಗ್, ನಮಗೆ ಏನು ಇದರ ಮೀಟಿಂಗಿನ ಏನು ಇನ್ವಿಟೇಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಆ್ಯಸ್ ಅ ಡಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಪ್ರೆಸಿಡೆಂಟ್, ಒಂದು ಜಿಲ್ಲಾ ಅಧ್ಯಕ್ಷನಾಗಿ ನನಗೆ ಏನು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ಈ ಮೂಲಕ ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೇನೆ. ಮತ್ತು ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಹಿತದೃಷ್ಟಿಯಿಂದ ನಾವು ಖಂಡಿತವಾಗಿ ಈ ಮೀಟಿಂಗಿಗೆ ಏನು ಪಾರ್ಟಿಸಿಪೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಿದ್ವಿ.
All right, India Today has been right from the start tracking all those developments, bringing you the latest updates on the hijab controversy that took off from Karnataka's Udupi. That's where I'm at right now. I have my colleague Mustafa Sheikh as well, reporting from Kundapura near Udupi. Nolan Pinto from Bengaluru. Shrija is also joining us from Udupi. Now, I'll start with Nolan. Here there seems to be quite some confusion. It appears that what happened in one government PU college in Udupi seemed to have had an effect across educational institutions run by the government in Karnataka, because now we hear that 13 girl students in a government school in Shimoga were asked to return because they were wearing the hijab. They insisted they wanted to wear it. School said no, parents got involved, and then the parents decided that if the school is not going to allow them to wear the hijab and sit in class, they had to write their preparatory examinations. Yet they were asked to leave, and then the parents said, all right, then no education. If hijab is not allowed, we will not educate our children. They took back those girls with them to their homes, cancelling their examination. And that's the fear that we have. The Karnataka High Court has clearly said that the mandate, the interim orders mandate, is only for those institutions that had preset guidelines, not to institutions across.
Well, Nabila, in fact, what we're hearing is that in this particular school, for the past few years, these girls, these same girls, 13 or 14 of them, would actually come to the school in their hijab, but they would remove their hijab, sit inside, follow the rules, and then when they are actually heading back home, they would wear the hijab and go back. But as of now, when they came today over here, they were allowed to enter the class, but when the teacher said that you have to remove your hijab because that's the rule, they said no, we want to wear it. And like you explained, the parents said we'll go back, we'll wait for the Karnataka order to come about, and then we'll take a call. So that is exactly what's happening across.
So in Mandya too, Nolan, Mandya too, we saw a similar scuffle just this morning when schools opened. Girls weren't allowed inside with the hijab. Was the school allowing or not allowing earlier on?
Well, in fact, I've spoke to a few of the authorities over there. What they tell us is that the students again would come to the school right up to the campus with their hijab. They would actually change, remove the hijab and sit in the class without the hijab, basically following the uniform. And then when they are heading back home, they would wear the hijab. But so today what was happening, they were not allowing them to enter the campus. They were asking them to remove it outside itself because of what's happening out, keeping in mind the situation. But some of the parents over there stated that no, they have to wear their hijab and enter the classroom. So this is what is happening. So on the one side, the High Court has actually told people and told the government that school should start, students should get back to classes. They've lost enough of time because of COVID. On the other side, we see certain parents, in fact, in certain situations, not all, in certain situations, forcing their kids, saying that you have to wear this only, otherwise it's not, if you don't give us permission, we'll take our kids back home.
Right, while we see parents taking a hardened stand, we're looking at institutions, to educational institutions, not allowing these girls to enter campus with the hijab, Nolan. Earlier, they would allow them to enter the campus and then probably take it off in the restroom and then enter class without the hijab. Now, right at the gates, right at the gate outside, they're being stopped and sent off if they're not willing to take it off. So hardened stands on both ends, really not helping the cause of the children alone, innocent children there who have their examinations, board examinations that's coming up. Very, very unfortunate that we're seeing this kind of a polarization that's seeping down to educational institutions. Let me quickly cut across to Mustafa Sheikh as well. Joining us, Mustafa, this is where you are, is where the controversy kicked off. Udupi, Kundapura, give us a sense of the ground situation there. Do we know if everything is calm even as classes started off for 10th grade today?
Well, as of now, yes, the situation is calm, and we also saw that in the government school of Kundapur, there was one lady who was wearing burqa and she entered, but later she removed it while sitting in the classroom. So there is, some authorities and some school authorities are not stopping students at the gate, which is avoiding the controversy like it happened in Mandya. But at the same time, we have to also understand that this is an interim order. The final hearing is yet to take place. The decision on this entire issue is yet to come out. What the court had said is that in the interim time, let's not keep the schools and colleges shut. Let it start it. It was expected that there will be some friction happening with some parents not allowing their kids to attend classrooms without wearing hijab. That is what we are getting to see now. We'll have to wait and see what the three-bench judge of the Karnataka High Court decides on this entire issue finally, so that people and parents then can clear their stand. And also, it remains importantly to be noted that there must have been some colleges and schools in Karnataka which allowed students to sit with hijab in the classroom, but that is not the case now because there is uniform code which has come in, and also the High Court order also states that people and students should not wear hijabs or saffron shawl while entering the classroom. Back to you.
Mustafa, so we're seeing a lot of confusion with respect to this interim order itself. What the High Court has said, until the court's verdict is out, until then you keep your religion out. But then again, has defined that this is an order to be followed only by educational institutions that already had preset guidelines not allowing the hijab in classes, not for other institutions which allowed. In fact, in Bengaluru's Chandra layout too, one of the institutions which allowed for hijab earlier have now resisted, waiting for the court's order to come out. I'm going to cut across to one of the school's principals from Bengaluru. As classes started off today, what's the sentiment coming in from the capital city of Karnataka?
Farah, the entire episode is a very unfortunate one. Bangalore is a very peace-loving city, and so is Karnataka. Karnataka is also known as the hub of educational institutions. Educational institutions' main objective is to provide quality education. And students come to school to study. Beyond these two objectives, everything that's happening right now is uncalled for, unnecessary, and a huge distraction to students because post-COVID, we have learned a lot of lessons, and it's now time for the students to get back to school and concentrate on the upcoming board examination. But, in case there is any controversy, there are elected representatives, there are other forums where it has to be taken up, and definitely not in an educational institutions, because as an educational institution, I heard that we are there to provide quality education and nothing else. And students should be students and not get distracted with other facts.
As much as we see this controversy escalate across the country, if anything, people are very keenly watching this verdict that's due to come out in just moments from now. Again, not the verdict, the hearing will begin. Verdict unlikely to be coming out today as per what experts say. But this is going to be a landmark verdict, if at all it does come out and when it does. I have Shrija with me, who's following up on the Udupi developments here. Shrija, you're also in the same town. I'm right here by one of the government colleges beside me, and I see hectic security that's been deployed on the other side. We're not allowed to stand in front of institutions as well for the moment, only looking at the sensitivity of it. But we understand that some of the Udupi students have written a memorandum to their college management saying that enough is enough. We want to get back to classes. Exams are just around the corner. corner. Let us enter classes. Let us carry out our examinations. Our exams are closing in, and let us study for those exams. While saying that, they've also, at the bottom of that memorandum, written how these 6 petitioners were always troublemakers, and because of them, we don't want to lose out. Do elaborate for us.
Yes, in the morning, the classmates of these petitioners have submitted some of the groups, submitted the petition here in the school stating that they want the school to be resumed at the earliest. We can see a development right now. You see that this was a college issue. This was a camp, in the same campus the problem started, and only PU students was standing against this, taking this hijab controversy ahead. However, now we can see that this issue is gradually spreading to even high school students. If you see, in the entire Karnataka, from morning we can see many cases where students have been asked to remove the hijab or remove the burqa and enter the class. But I think that is not the right way. It was supposed to be the problem of one set of that 2 PU students. Now it's gradually affecting even to the high school students also. See, also they have model examination. You know how important. We know that it's most important before the final exams are conducted. And in this, confusions, whether they are able to study, even though all the students, most of the students say that they are coming to the school to study, but are they able to, in this confusion, in this, political issue, religious matters, some of the organizations definitely
that many of the students have elaborated in that memorandum to say that they are being disturbed right ahead of examinations, which is just around the corner, barely a month away. And remember, 12th grade examinations are so important. These are board examinations which really decides and shapes the future of students who want to take up further education to get to degree level, and this is certainly setting them back. Now, let me cut across to Nagarjun Dwarkanath, who is caught on with Araga Gyanendra, who is the Home Minister of Karnataka, who speaks and stresses of how there's a political push or some communal forces who are trying to instigate these girls fighting for hijab in classes, and that role will be probed sooner or later. Let me cut across.
ಡಿಸೆಂಬರ್ ನಿಂದನೇ ಶುರುವಾಗಿದೆ ಅಥವಾ ಹಿಂದೆ ನಿಮಗೆ ಕೆಲವಾರು ರಿಪೋರ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ CFI PFI ಇದಕ್ಕೆ ಇನ್ಸ್ಟಿಗೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು, ಪ್ರೊವೋಕ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಕ್ಟೋಬರ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ
ಇದೆ. ಕೆಲವು ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು ಇದ್ದಾವೆ,
ಓಕೆ,
ಮತೀಯ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳು. ಅವುಗಳು ಎದುರುಗಡೆ ಎಲ್ಲೂ ಬಂದಿರಲಿಲ್ಲ. ವಿದ್ಯಾರ್ಥಿಗಳ ಮೂಲಕ ಅದು ಪ್ರಕಟೀಕರಣ ಆಗಿದೆ.
ಓಕೆ,
ನಾನು ಈ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ಮ್ಯಾಟ್ರ್ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ನಲ್ಲಿದೆ.
ಹೌದು,
ಇಂಥ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಹೇಳಿದ್ರು ತೊಂದರೆ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ಜಡ್ಜ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮೇಲೆ.
ಓಕೆ,
ಈಗಿರುವಂತಹದ್ದು ನಾವು ಏನಂದ್ರೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಶಾಲೆಗಳಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರಿಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಕೋರ್ಟ್ ವರ್ಡಿಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಅನುಸರಿಸಬೇಕು.
ಬಟ್ ಯು ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಸದ್ಯದ ಪ್ರಿಲಿಮಿನರಿ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಯಾರೋ ಒಂದು ಆರ್ಗನೈಸೇಷನ್ ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಶಂಕೆ, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಡೌಟ್?
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಆ ರೀತಿ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ.
ಓಕೆ,
ನಮ್ಮ ಪೊಲೀಸರು ತನಿಖೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ, ತನಿಖೆಯಿಂದ ಹೊರಗೆ ಬರುತ್ತೆ.
ಸರ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಚಾನಲ್ ಒಂದು ಇನ್ವೆಸ್ಟಿಗೇಷನ್ ಹಿಂದೆ ಡಿಗಪ್ ಮಾಡಿದ ಇನ್ಫಾರ್ಮೇಶನ್, ಯಾರು ಇಬ್ರು ಪೆಟಿಷನರ್ ಇದ್ರು ಹುಡುಗಿರು, ಆಲಿಯಾ ಅಸ್ದಿ ಅಂಡ್ ಮುಸ್ಕಾನ್ ಜೈನಾಬ್ ಅಂತ ಇಬ್ರು ಉಡುಪಿ ಹುಡುಗಿರ್ ಪೆಟಿಷನ್ ಏನ್ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ರು ಹೈಕೋರ್ಟ್ಗೆ, ಅವರ ತಂದೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ರಿಲೇಟಿವ್ಸ್ PFI ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವ ಮೆಂಬರ್ ಆಗಿ ಒಂದು ಫೋಟೋಗ್ರಾಫ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಸಿಕ್ಕಿದೆ ಇಂಡಿಯಾ ಟುಡೇಗೆ.
ಅಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಅಂತ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳಿದ್ದಾವೆ. ಇನ್ನೂ ಅದನ್ನ ಆಳವಾಗಿ ಡಿಗ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಒಂದು ಪ್ರಯತ್ನಗಳು ಪೊಲೀಸ್ ಕಡೆಯಿಂದ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. ನಾನು ವಿಚಾರಣೆ ಹಂತದಲ್ಲಿ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದಾಗಿ ನಾನು ಈಗೇನು ಹೇಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಮಾಹಿತಿಗಳನ್ನು ತೆಗಿತೇವೆ, ಅಂತ ಸಂಘ ಸಂಸ್ಥೆಗಳನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಈ ದೇಶದ ಶಾಂತಿ ಸುವ್ಯವಸ್ಥೆಗೆ ಭಂಗ ತಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಮೇಲೆ ಕ್ರಮ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ.
Right, we heard what the Home Minister has to say. Really, students and school managements, both of them whose hands are tied, looking at and waiting for the High Court's verdict. In fact, the court will finally take up the hearing at 2:30 p.m. Again, like I said, not too sure if the verdict will come today, but there's definitely a lot of deliberations, arguments, counter-arguments that you can witness. A 3-judge bench that has been constituted to hear this matter. They're going to be taking up petitions seeking an end to the hijab ban in educational institutes across Karnataka. Now, this bench is comprised by Chief Justice Ritu Raj Avasthi, also constitutes of Justice Krishna S. Dikshit and Justice J.M. Kazi. The court will begin hearing at 2:30 p.m. And earlier, Karnataka High Court had given an interim order in which they requested the state government to reopen educational institutions. However, the court has restrained all students from wearing saffron shawls, hijab or any other religious flag within classroom in the meanwhile. Now, in the wake of this order, few students moved the Supreme Court, saying that this interim hearing violates their fundamental rights to practice their religion. In fact, the Supreme Court struck it down, saying unless the High Court's verdict is not out, they will not intervene and that they will come in only at an appropriate time. Now, we know politics is brewing around the hijab controversy. The latest to comment on this elaborately is UP Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. He's made his stance very clear here. Yogi Adityanath, right there on polling day while he gave an interview, he's clearly spelled out his side on this hijab row. Yogi has called for sticking to strict uniforms in schools. The Chief Minister has said systems in the country should be run based on the Constitution of India and not the Shariat or the Islamic law. Yogi Adityanath has further said, we can't impose our personal religious beliefs and choices on the country and its institutions. Dress code must be enforced in schools, adding that when the country runs according to the Constitution, women will get their due respect, security and independence. Commenting on OAC's PM hijab remarks, Yogi has said that Prime Minister scrapped the Triple Talaq law to free Muslim daughters, but said that BJP will never allow India to become an Islamic state. Let's take a listen.
ड्रेस कोड स्कूलों में लागू होना चाहिए। स्कूल का विषय है, स्कूल के अनुशासन का विषय है। आर्मी में कोई ये कहेगा कि हम लोग जो है अपने अनुसार चलेंगे, फोर्स में कोई इस प्रकार की बात करेगा, कहां अनुशासन रह पाएगा। व्यक्तिगत आस्था आपकी अपनी जगह होगी, लेकिन जब संस्थाओं की बात होगी तो संस्था के नियम कानून को हमें मानना होगा। देश की व्यवस्था होगी, देश के संविधान को मानना होगा।
और हम अपनी बेटियों को इंशाअल्लाह ताला अगर वो ये फैसला करती है कि अब्बा अम्मी मैं हिजाब पहनूंगी, तो अब्बा अम्मी पहले बोलेंगे बेटा पहन, तुझे कौन रोकता है देखेंगे इंशाअल्लाह। हिजाब निकाब पहनेंगे, कॉलेज को जाएंगे, डॉक्टर भी बनेंगे, कलेक्टर भी बनेंगे, एसडीएम भी बनेंगे, बिजनेसमैन भी बनेंगे। और एक दिन याद रखना तुम कांड की जनता, शायद मैं जिंदा नहीं रहूंगा, तुम देखना एक दिन इस देश की प्रधानमंत्री एक बच्ची हिजाब पहन के प्रधानमंत्री बनेगी।
उसी बेटी को तो स्वतंत्र कराने के लिए, उसी बेटी को तो अधिकार देने के लिए प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने 3 तलाक की कुप्रथा को हमेशा के लिए रोका है। उसी बेटी को न्याय दिलाने के लिए, सम्मान दिलाने के लिए और स्वावलंबन के मार्ग पर अग्रसर करने के लिए ये फैसले लिए जा रहे हैं। और उसी बेटी के सम्मान को लेकर के हम लोग इस बात को कहते हैं कि शरीयत के अनुसार व्यवस्था नहीं चलेगी, संविधान के अनुरूप चलेगी। जब संविधान के अनुरूप व्यवस्था कर चलेगी, हर बेटी को सुरक्षा, हर बेटी का सम्मान और हर बेटी के स्वावलंबन का कार्य होगा।
Now, in fact, we also heard Prime Minister Modi speak on this matter. In fact, as this row escalates, the Prime Minister spoke in favor of Muslim women, and this is what he said as he interprets this controversy.
मेरी मुस्लिम बहनें चुपचाप बिना किसी शोर शराबे के मन बनाकर मोदी को आशीर्वाद देने के लिए घर से निकल रही है। हमारी मुस्लिम महिलाएं, हमारी मुस्लिम बहनें, बेटियां जानती हैं कि जो सुख दुख में काम आता है
वो ही अपना होता है। इन 4 बातों ने इन गौर परिवारवादी लोगों का चारों खाने पर चित्त कर दिया है भाइयों, उनको पराजित कर दिया है। और साथियों, महिलाओं के लिए जो काम हमारी सरकार ने किया है, उसकी बहुत बड़ी लाभार्थी मुस्लिम बहन बेटियां भी हैं। हमारी मुस्लिम बेटियों को भी पढ़ाई के लिए जाते समय रास्ते के मंचलों की वजह से बहुत दिक्कत होती थी। जब यूपी में अपराधी कंट्रोल में आए तो इसका लाभ मुस्लिम बहन बेटियों को भी मिला। मुझे खुशी है कि पिछले 7 सालों में स्कूल में, कॉलेजों में मुस्लिम बेटियों की संख्या भी बढ़ रही है। मेरा निरंतर प्रयास रहा है कि कैसे अपनी मुस्लिम बहन बेटियों का जीवन में आसान बना सकूं। आप कल्पना कर सकते हैं।
Right. In fact, what the protest that started off in Udupi, Karnataka, right here where I'm at, Ground Zero, has now resonated across the country in favor and against hijab inside classrooms, which the Karnataka High Court will now deliberate. All those updates right here on India Today. I'm going to toss it back to you, Sneha.
Thank you for that, Nabila. We'll of course keep coming back to you for more on that story as the hearing resumes once again. We're keeping a very, very close eye on all of those developments.